Hey, welcome to lesson 1-4, Analyzing Data. And we're going to look at how we analyze the data of a graph. All right, that's our goal. So, you want to make sure you have your notes open, and I'm going to walk you through the initial analyzing data together, and then you're going to work on some graph analysis using real life data on your own. So let's start with the I squared strategy. So the I squared strategy is the identify and interpret. That's the I squared. Identify, interpret. Two I's. And this is how we can make meaning from a graph, right? So in this particular graph, we have a title. So let's start with the title, height and fertilizer treatment. So we have height on our y-axis, and these are of plants, and it's measured in centimeters. And on the x, we have plant treatment, and we know that treatment is fertilizer because of the title. So then we have plant A, B, C, D, E, and then we have percentages. All right. So the first thing we do is identify. And we want to just make observations, identify what you see. So, not what it means, just what do you see? So, to start with, we're going to draw arrows and write what I see comment for each arrow. So, for this, we're going to want to go up to the top, select line, and we want arrows. We're using arrows. So, I have an arrow. Now I have to think about what I want to see. So, what is one thing I see? Well, as I go from plant A to plant D, there is an increase in my plant height. So, there's my arrow, and then a comment for what that means. So, if I come over here, text box, from 25% to 125% fertilizer, there is an increase in height. Oops. All right, let's move that so I can actually read it. All right, so there's my first identify. I can see that there's an increase in height from plant A to plant D. Okay, now I see something happening here with plant E. Oops. Let's make my arrow go that way. I'm just going to drag it down. So if I look at plant E, from 125% to 150%, there is a decrease in height. All right. Anything else we think is important? I think probably those are the big things that we see, right? One last thing we might want to point out, maybe that max height is at 100 is group D. Maximum height is group D at 125%. All right. So those are my identifies, okay? Identify. Now we have to do our interpret. So what does it mean? Right? This is like observations and inferences. So I identify, I make my observation, and now I need some inferences. So we're going to interpret the meaning of each what I see comment by writing a what it means comment. All right, so I can come back to this box and I'm going to add my interpret right to this box, but I'm just going to change my text color. So let's change it to, um, I think I'll change it to red. You can change it to whatever color you want. All right, so what does this mean? An increase in amount of fertilizer fertilizer leads to an increase in plant height, right? So that's my assumption, right? Is that it's the increase in fertilizer that's making the plants grow higher. We also might say that fertilizer helps plants grow taller. There's a couple different interpretations you could add. You don't have to have exactly what I do. Okay. All right. So what about this 125? Once again, I want to change my color. So the maximum height is at 125% fertilizer. And if I look at 150, it drops back down. So max height is group D at 125. My interpretation is that 125% fertilizer is optimal for plant growth. So optimal means that it's the best. All right. And then what about this decrease from 125 to 150? So once again, I'm going to change my font color. There is a decrease in height. So my assumption is that too much fertilizer reduces hmm, too much fertilizer does not lead to more plant growth. Or we could also say there is a limit to the amount of fertilizer that is beneficial. All right. So I think we have some good identification and interpretation, I squared. All right, so we need to take this information and use it to write a conclusion or a caption for our graph. So we're going to go to the next slide. And what we want to know is, does more fertilizer equal better growth? Okay, so start with the topic sentence that describes what the graph or figure shows. So if I go back to my graph, it's height and fertilizer treatment, right? So what is my graph trying to show? So I need my topic sentence. So this graph depicts, that means it shows, the effect of fertilizer treatment on the growth of plants. And then we need to join our what I see comment with the what it means comments to make a sentence. And then that's going to make multiple sentences that'll lead to a paragraph. So let's go back. So we can even copy and paste. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to copy it. And then I can come here and I can paste without formatting. I don't need the colors anymore. All right, and then how can I make this a sentence that's more helpful? All right. All right, so from 125%, from 25% to 125% fertilizer. Now let's change that. When 25% to 125% fertilizer is added to plants, there is an increase in the height of the plants. This shows that an increase in the amount of fertilizer leads to an increase in the plant, an increase in plant height. Right? And I'm just going to erase this part. And let's go back to our previous. Um, I think this is another good one. Control C is another way to copy. Come back here, paste that formatting. I don't need the color. All right, so I think saying that there is a limit is another good way to go here. There is a limit to the amount of fertilizer that is beneficial for plant growth. From 125% to 50%, there's a decrease in plant height. All right, let's make that a complete sentence. There's a limit to the amount of fertilizer beneficial from plant growth. The graph shows that from 125 to 50%, 150% fertilizer, there is a decrease in plant height. All right, there's our caption. It's a nice conclusion, right? And let's see, oops, I got a typo. Let's see if that answers our question. That's really important. So, does more fertilizer equals better growth? So, this graph depicts the effect of fertilizer treatment on the growth of plants. When 25% to 150% fertilizer is added to the plants, there's an increase in the height of the plants. This shows that an increase in the amount of fertilizer leads to an increase in plant height. There is a limit to the amount of fertilizer that is beneficial for plant growth. The graph shows that from 125% to 150% fertilizer, there is a decrease in plant height. All right, there's our conclusion. So, what you're going to do is go on to this next assignment, Data Nuggets Deadly Windows. So you're going to read, answer some questions, and you're going to do some graph analysis. A little more simple graph, but same process we just did. All right, you got this.